We assume people who overthink conversations are just anxious. But what if the real reason your mind won't let go of that one sentence from 3 days ago is something much older and much more precise? Not what's wrong with you, what your mind was trained to do. This is called conversation replay. And it isn't what most people assume. It isn't ordinary anxiety. It isn't obsession. It isn't a restless brain refusing to relax. It's a specific way of processing social information at a depth most people never access. And the people who do it share a set of habits so consistent, so recognizable, that once you hear them, you'll see the pattern behind every sleepless night you've ever spent rewinding a conversation that everyone else forgot by dinner. There are 10 of them. And if you're the kind of person who lies awake, replaying words, pauses, and tones of voice, this is going to feel less like a video and more like someone reading your mind out loud. One more thing before we start. People who do this rarely realize how much processing they're actually doing. They just know the phone call ended 2 hours ago, and their mind is still inside it. They just know one look someone gave them last Tuesday is still circling. They just know everyone else moves on, and they don't. If that's you, keep watching, because every one of these habits has a reason. And the reason is never that something is broken in you. Habit 1. You replay the exact words people used, not the general idea of the conversation, the precise words, the specific phrasing, the sentence they chose instead of the one they could have chosen. Most people leave a conversation with an impression. You leave with a transcript. And there's a reason your memory works this way. For some people, growing up, language was more than communication. It was information about safety. The difference between "we need to talk" and "can we talk" wasn't small. It predicted the next hour of your life, so your mind learned to record dialogue with unusual precision because the details carried consequences. That recording function never switched off. Now, decades later, a coworker's slightly odd word choice at 4 p.m. is still playing at midnight. Not because it matters, because your mind was built to treat words as evidence. Habit 2. You analyze the pauses more than what was said. Here's something strange about you that you've probably never said out loud. Silence in a conversation feels louder to you than speech. The pause before someone answered, the beat that lasted a half second too long, the moment they didn't respond to something you said and moved on as if you hadn't said it. Other people don't even register these gaps. You can't stop registering them. That sensitivity usually comes from environments where the real message lived in what wasn't said, where a parent's silence communicated more than their words ever did, where you learned to read the space between sentences because that's where the truth was hiding. So now, when someone pauses, your mind rushes into the gap, searching. What did that silence mean? What are they not saying? Most of the time, the pause meant nothing, but your mind doesn't know how to believe that yet. Habit 3. You replay your own reactions and cringe. This one is different, because this one turns inward. You don't just review what they said, you review what you said, how you said it, the joke that didn't land, the moment you talked too much. The response you gave that, in the replay, sounds slightly wrong in a way you can't stop hearing. And each time the loop runs, there's that small internal wince. Be honest, you felt it tonight, this week, maybe an hour ago. This habit tends to form in people whose reactions once had consequences. Somewhere along the way, you learned that your response, your face, your tone, your timing could make a situation worse, could disappoint someone, could shift the temperature of a room. So you started auditing yourself, reviewing your own performance after every interaction, scanning for the error. The exhausting part? There's rarely an error to find. But the audit runs anyway, because it was never really about this conversation. It was about an old belief that you, unmonitored, are somehow a risk. Habit 4. You imagine alternate versions of the conversation. I should have said this instead. You know that sentence. You've built entire parallel conversations around it. Sharper answers, better comebacks, clearer explanations of what you actually meant, whole exchanges that never happened, playing in vivid detail while you brush your teeth. Psychologists sometimes connect this to suppressed voice, people who, at some formative point, couldn't say what they needed to say. The stakes were too high. or the room was too volatile, or nobody was listening anyway. All those unsaid words didn't disappear. They became rehearsal. Now your mind writes the version of the conversation where you gotta be fully heard, because somewhere inside, there's still a backlog of moments where you weren't. The replay isn't vanity. It isn't ego. It's your voice practicing. For a moment, it never got. Habit 5. You search for hidden meaning in everything. A short text message. A slightly different greeting than usual. The way someone said fine. Where other people see surface, you see layers. You take almost nothing at face value, not because you're paranoid, but because face value has burned you before. Think about where you learned that. In some homes, what was said and what was true were rarely the same thing. I'm fine meant the opposite. Nothing's wrong was a warning. The surface of communication was a kind of decoration, and the real information lived underneath. Children from those homes become adults who read subtext fluently because subtext was their first language. The gift is real. You catch things others miss entirely. The cost is real too. You sometimes find meaning where there isn't any. A tired coworker becomes a cold coworker. A short reply becomes a shifting relationship. Your interpretation skills are extraordinary. They just occasionally solve puzzles that were never puzzles. Habit 6. You remember tone of voice long after the words fade. Someone can say something completely harmless, and if the tone was slightly off, you'll carry that tone for days. You might forget the sentence entirely. The tone stays. There's a reason for this, and it goes back further than any conversation you can remember. Tone is the first emotional information humans ever learned to read. Long before we understand words, we understand voices. And in unpredictable households, tone became the earliest warning system a child had. A shift in a parent's voice told you what kind of evening it would be. You learned to detect it instantly, automatically, from another room. That detection system is still installed, which is why a slight edge in someone's voice on a Tuesday afternoon can sit in your chest until Friday, even when the words themselves were kind. Your body heard something your mind is still trying to explain. Habit 7. You replay conversations you weren't even part of. Here's one almost nobody talks about. You overhear something in a coffee shop, a tense exchange between two people in line at the pharmacy, a tone you catch between coworkers in the next room, a stranger's phone call 2 tables over. Hours later, you're still thinking about it. Not your conversation, not your problem, not your relationship, but your mind is processing it anyway, running the same analysis it runs on your own interactions. Why did she say it like that? What was really going on there? What was the history behind that look? This is deep social absorption, and it usually forms in one very specific kind of childhood, the kind where scanning other people's interactions kept you emotionally oriented, where you had to watch the adults around you closely to know what mood the room was in. Your nervous system learned to treat all social information as relevant, as potentially useful, as data worth storing. Most people filter out other people's conversations automatically. Their brain marks it not mine and moves on. You never learned that filter, which is why sometimes the conversation keeping you up at night isn't even yours. Habit 8. You can't sleep until the loop feels resolved. It's midnight, you're tired, your body wants sleep, and your mind says, not yet. We're not done with this one. So it runs the conversation again and again, looking for something, some feeling of completion, some internal signal that says, okay, it's processed, you can rest now. Here's what's actually happening in those hours. Your nervous system treats unresolved social interactions the way it would treat an unresolved threat, as something that has to be settled before it's safe to power down. For most people, an awkward exchange registers as trivial and gets deleted overnight. For you, it registers as open, pending, unfinished. And a nervous system with unfinished business doesn't sleep well. This isn't insomnia in the ordinary sense. It's a security system refusing to arm itself until every door has been checked, even the doors that were never open. Habit 9. You feel conversations in your body, sometimes days later. This one is going to sound strange until you recognize it. A conversation ends. Everything looked normal from the outside. Nothing was said that should have caused a physical reaction. But your body starts responding anyway. Chest tightness, a knot in your stomach, a vague nausea that won't lift. Sometimes you catch yourself feeling a specific exchange from 3 days ago as an actual sensation right now, in your body, a heaviness sitting somewhere between your ribs and your throat. This is called somatic replay, and it isn't imagination, it isn't drama, it's real. For people who learn to read emotional environments as children, the body becomes part of the memory system. Emotional information doesn't just get stored as thought, it gets stored as sensation. In muscle tension, in shallow breathing, in the exact spot in your torso where a difficult conversation always seems to land. Which is why some replays don't feel like thoughts at all. They feel like weather, moving through you, and you can't reason with weather. You can only wait for it to pass. The problem is, nobody teaches you that your body is also replaying. So you dismiss the sensation, override it, push through it, wonder why you feel so heavy for no apparent reason. There's a reason. Your body remembers what your mind is still trying to file away. Habit 10. You replay even the good conversations. This is the one that proves it was never really about anxiety. Because you don't just replay the awkward moments and the conflicts. You replay the conversations that went well, the compliment someone gave you, the connection that felt real, the moment somebody seemed to genuinely like you. You turn those over too, examining them, almost checking them for cracks. Did they mean it? Was it real? Will it last? This happens when good things, early in life, didn't reliably stay good. When warmth could turn without warning. When you learn not to fully trust a nice moment, because nice moments had a history of being followed by something else. So even joy gets processed like evidence. Even connection gets reviewed for flaws. Not because you're negative, because a long time ago, letting your guard down during the good part is exactly when things went wrong. Now, step back for a second. Look at all 10 together. The word-for-word memory, the pause analysis, the self-audit, the alternate versions, the hidden meanings, the tone that lingers, the overheard exchanges, the sleepless resolution seeking, the body carrying conversations, the suspicion of good moments. These aren't 10 different quirks. They're one system. A mind and a body that learned, early and thoroughly, that social information was survival information, that conversations weren't just exchanges, they were data, and missing something could cost you. Most people never had to develop this. Their childhoods let them take conversations at face value, forget them by morning, and sleep. Yours didn't. So, your mind built something extraordinary. Instead, a processing system of unusual depth, precision, and sensitivity, running through both your thoughts and your body at the same time. It just never learned how to turn itself off. And here's the part that matters most. There is nothing wrong with you. You're not anxious by nature. You're not obsessive. You're not broken in some way that other people aren't. You are running a highly sophisticated program in an environment that no longer requires it. The vigilance that once protected a child is now exhausting an adult. That's not dysfunction. That's outdated software doing its job too well. The replaying was never the flaw. It was the evidence of how carefully you learned to survive. So what do you actually do with this? Not force the loops to stop. That never works. You've tried. Something smaller. When the replay starts tonight, don't fight it. Just notice it. Name it. There's the loop. Naming it moves you from inside the pattern to beside it. And that shift alone changes things. Then ask one question. Is this replay giving me new information or repeating old fear? 90% of the time, you'll know the answer immediately. And knowing is enough. You don't have to force the loop closed. You just have to stop believing it's productive. If a conversation genuinely won't leave you alone, write it down. 2 or 3 sentences, on paper, outside your head. Loops live in the mind because the mind is afraid of forgetting. Paper tells it. Recorded. You can let go now. And when you feel a conversation in your body, don't ignore it. Put a hand where you feel it. Breathe slowly into that spot. You're not being dramatic. You're acknowledging what your body has been quietly carrying for you. When the replay finishes a cycle, say to yourself, that was enough. Not perfect. Enough. Your nervous system has never once heard that a conversation could simply be enough. Teach it. Slowly. It learns. So if tonight, or tomorrow night. Or some night next week, you find yourself lying in the dark, rewinding a conversation the other person forgot before they got home. Remember this: you were never overthinking. You were noticing what most people never had to notice, reading what most people never had to read, processing at a depth that was never optional for you, because once, a long time ago, reading everything was the only way to stay safe. That version of you did an extraordinary job. The work now isn't to silence the mind it built. It's to gently, patiently teach that mind and that body something they've never known. The conversation is over, and you're safe anyway. Before you go, tell me something. Out of these 10 habits, which one felt like it was written specifically about you? For most people, it's habit 3, replaying your own reactions. Or habit 9, feeling conversations in your body days later. But I want to know yours. Drop the number in the comments, because naming the pattern out loud is the first moment it starts losing its grip. And if this video described your inner life more accurately than anyone ever has, subscribe. This channel exists for people exactly like you. People who feel deeply, notice everything, and have spent years wondering why their mind works this way. You've been processing alone your whole life. You don't have to anymore.